Welcome to episode 238 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and got a couple great guests this week. Ben Roethig is here. How you doing, Ben? It's been a while. Glad you're here.
I'm pretty good, Dave. How are you?
Doing well. Glad you made it on. So we've got lots of great stuff to talk about, but we also have Chuck Joyner here from Mac Voices. How you doing, Chuck? Glad you're here.
I am doing great, David. I'm sleep deprived and a little giddy, and so life is good.
Yes, we could be giddy. There's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about tonight. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And the fact that Chuck is giddy makes me incredibly happy. We'll need to take advantage of this.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Maybe sorry, Jeff.
You might be. So we got some news this week. Apple did this thing called, they announced the HomePod, which just threw us all off. We are going to have a new segment this week, In Touch with Mac, because they did announce some Mac stuff, so I just couldn't ignore it this week. And lots of other great conversation. But let's go ahead and just start, and as I always do, talk about some of the news stories of this week. First story was the Apple TV expects you to have an iPhone in order to accept its new iCloud terms and conditions. A viral tweet had sent out on highlights of some really frustrated people that were actually saying that the Apple TV software was actually telling you to get your go grab your iPhone and approve the new terms and conditions. So you had to do it on your Mac, and you also had to do it on your iPhone and your iPad when the terms changed. And I guess this article was since updated, and they provided a workaround that you can fully sign out of iCloud and back into the Apple TV, and will prompt you the terms conditions screen, which can be just accepted on that device. Very strange. Why, Apple? Why did this happen? I don't know.
I have a question, and I'm asking because I haven't had time to do a lot of research into this. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that you're getting this dialogue if you already have an iPhone, or is it for everyone?
It was
because Apple knows if you have an iPhone.
Yeah, it does, but it also, because I do recall by doing this, I had, I'm used to grabbing my iPhone anytime you got to do something on the Apple TV, but I'm perplexed, and the article really doesn't say why Apple did this or why this has been happening. It's
well, if people that don't have iPhones are seeing this dialogue, then I see that as a serious problem and a bad design choice.
Right.
If you do own an iPhone, which Apple knows if you do, then showing you this dialogue, to me, that it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it went out viral. People really doing some complaining because people have nothing else better to complain. So, what do you guys think, Chuck?
Well, I guess two things. First of all, you mean there are people that don't own an iPhone? They own something else?
At least anybody that's listening to this show.
Yeah. But, the other thing, too, I mean, Jeff asks a really good question that I don't have an answer for. But I almost have to wonder how or why. I mean, and this is a serious question. How many people out there would invest in an Apple TV that didn't have an iPhone? That aren't already in the Apple ecosystem, that wouldn't go for a Roku or a Chromecast or another streaming device. That just kind of baffles me. I mean, I'm sure they're out there for some reason. I just don't know why.
Yeah,
I have the answer.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
okay.
Good, Ben. Go.
Good.
So, being sick of dealing with Fire TVs, I replaced all my mother's Fire TVs with my hand-me-down first generation Apple TV 4Ks and HDs.
Nice.
Well, about 4 months ago, my mom let my nephew borrow her iPhone, and it ended up getting lost.
Oh, what's wrong with me? Okay.
Yeah, but since she does not have her iPhone right now, fortunately, when she gets another one, I have an account of her set up on my MacBook so I can sign into it. But since she doesn't have it right now, her account on the Apple TVs has a persistent update the terms notification.
And needs that iPhone. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And yeah.
Oh
Okay.
lordy!
All right. So
there's
there
a
you
good
go.
reason. There's a good reason
There's a good
why
which
it
is
shouldn't be doing
hopefully somewhere in my sister's house.
that. Let's hope.
I have very rarely, but I have run in occasionally to someone who has an Apple TV but no other Apple devices because they hate the interfaces for the smart TVs and the other streaming devices so much that they got an Apple TV because they prefer that interface.
That's it. There are a couple good reasons there. And I think one more thing that seems to be happening, although now with there being an Apple TV app, it's not quite so likely. But I think there was a time there that for some of the TV shows that Apple TV Plus was bringing out that were only available on an Apple TV, that might have been, a reason. Or people never understood that there was an app. That's a rather costly misunderstanding, but
Right.
it could happen.
Well, regardless, the fact that you have to do this, or this is what you're presented with, I think is bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like with YouTube. When you're authenticating, when you sign into your YouTube account, I've got a premium account. You have to sign in, and then you got to go to the YouTube app, or I'm sorry, not YouTube, like your Google account. You're trying to sign into your Google account, and then it wants you to go to the YouTube app, or it has to be on your iPhone or your iPad in order to authenticate. So Google kind of does the same thing in that sense, but this one's a little extreme, especially with the Apple TV to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have all those devices.
Yeah.
They are never far from my sight, and I find it a pain in the butt.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go and move on. Next story. I'm so excited about this. Ted Lasso season 3 confirmed for spring of 2023 as Apple TV Plus unveils a dozen new original series. Apple TV Plus presented at the Winter TV Critics Association press tour, unveiling much of the shows that are going to be out. They have other shows besides Ted Lasso, Shrinking, which is a new comedy that's actually from Brett Goldstein and Bill Lawrence, the folks from Ted Lasso. It's going to have Jason Segel in it, which in fact, Harrison Ford's even in the show. I bet this show is going to be a big hit. This looks pretty interesting. Also have Dear Edward. It's a drama with Connie Britton. And there's a lot of other shows that look really good. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but this is exciting.
I'll shout out Hello Tomorrow.
Hello Tomorrow. I was just going to grab that one. That's with that was the guy from the morning show, right? I forgot his name. It's not listed here. But Billy Crudup. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. So looks like Apple's continuing on with some exciting new titles and more reason to want to have a subscription to it to watch this great content. What do you guys think?
Or even, dare I say, an Apple TV?
Yeah, or sell an Apple TV for that matter. Yeah.
I don't want to. Oh, go ahead.
Go
Sorry,
ahead, Chuck.
Well, I don't want to take us off track here. I don't want to take us down a rat hole, but I am curious because of just what David said. Do you guys pick TV shows because of who the actors are, or do you pick them because of the premise?
Both.
Premise.
It can be
kind of both. Yeah, I mean,
really?
I'm a big fan of the Chicago shows that are on NBC. I love watching those shows, and they have a lot of good stars in them. They're not huge stars, but they're fun shows to watch. Law and Order is another one that's been around forever. That I watch those kind of shows, but it's kind of both. I mean, Ted Lasso, I never in a million years would thought I would like it, and then like everybody, I just absolutely love it, and
Yeah. Ted Lasso for me was because of the show. The Shrink because of Harrison Ford. I'm going to give it a shot. Yeah. It just depends.
The miniseries that they have, Little America on Apple TV Plus is kind of a fun show to watch, just to see the different views around the U.S. and of from folks from different countries, and you get hooked into each episode of that because it's just a great show. So there's a lot of great shows on Apple TV Plus, and I think it's going to continue.
I was one of those who at the beginning had very high doubts why Apple was doing this. A couple of years later, it has by far one of the best quality catalogs out there. Not quantity, but I mean, every show is good. I mean, Severance and Foundation are two of my favorite sci-fi shows in the world right now. Apple's just killing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's because I'm Ben. I think you were the one that said premise more than stars. I mean, they're just because actor or actress, or I guess now they're all actors, X or Y is in the show. The most it might do is it might turn my head to give it, a little harder look at the premise. But if it's, that this person sells bananas on the street corner, I don't care who it is. I'm not interested. So that's just when David and listen, it works. I'm probably in the minority because Apple is paying a lot of money for a lot of star power, and it's worked. It has absolutely worked. So
I wouldn't have watched Spirited except for the cast. And then I loved it. As far as TV shows selling bananas on the street corner, if you have not checked out Arrested Development, you really need to.
Everybody loves that show.
Okay, I have not.
It's not on Apple TV Plus.
It's on Netflix. Yeah,
it's okay. I still have it.
It is. Arrested Development is absolutely wonderful.
Quite the humor.
Adding that to my list right now.
And eventually you'll understand why I brought it up for you. But anyhow.
And it started on Fox and moved over to Netflix. So, last story here. Apple launches a black Unity Sport Loop with matching Apple Watch face for and iPhone wallpaper. Apple did release a new special edition Black Unity Sport Loop Apple Watch band in celebration of Black History Month. Band comes as part of Apple's wider commemoration of that, as well, where the company plans to highlight and curate some of the content celebrating Black culture and community. And it's great to see that Apple does this kind of stuff. They do it for all the different groups, and it's fun. And actually, it's a nice looking watch band, honestly. And I'm glad they do these kind of things. And then they did actually offer it in the sports loop as well as the I believe the solo loop too. So you can check that out, and not a bad thing. Any comments on that?
Fantastic cause, fantastic product.
Yeah, they all fit. Kept the news light this week because we've got some pretty heavy topics. So let's first hit on beta. iOS 16.3 RC release candidate is out. It came out this week, and Apple released it out to both developers and to the public beta. And the biggest thing that's standing out on 16.3 was the support for physical security keys that can be added for added protection for the Apple ID, which is great. And there's tons of other bug fixes and stuff, but really the biggest thing that you're going to be looking at is what's new is not much. Honestly, 16.3 is definitely not a big hit as far as what to expect. Again, we'll talk about HomePod here in just a minute, but yeah, the HomePod handoff prompt, I'll be curious to see if that even works, because things on HomePod in itself haven't really worked that much. But yeah, really, it's not a huge update. 16.3. We've been talking about it for a number of weeks since it's hit in beta, and I don't really see much else. You guys, any comments about that?
It's more like iOS 2 or 16.25.
Yeah.
It's basically for the new hardware, which we'll be talking about in a bit, and security keys. Both are good little updates, but the key is on little.
Yeah. HomePod 16.2 is going to be out, and I saw Ben, you've been doing a lot of tweets on social media talking about the temperature sensor and stuff on that. Why don't you hit on that a little bit? Apple did announce that it's going to have humidity and temperature sensing on the Mini and Find My and auto tuning, so they have added some enhancements on that. Sounds like you've been beta testing it, so you had some.
Yep, I got the release candidates downloaded pretty early yesterday. Just kind of wanted to see if the update would turn it on, since the hardware product we're going to be talking about in a bit isn't released till February. Lo and behold, it's showing both temperature and humidity for both my HomePod minis.
Great, and it works.
Yeah, it works great.
Okay.
And I mean, it's just a free little update.
And and then the update went pretty quickly. I'm assuming you had to force it, like we always expect to do.
Yeah. I mean, Home OS. God, Apple, get yourself an actual application for this. But
I know Jeff's chomping here, but to give his view on this.
Mr. Jeffrey, I cede the floor.
I am actually excited for the official update to roll out so that I can get the temperature and humidity sensors working on my minis. One of the things that has annoyed me for years with HomeKit, the Home app, the S Lady, and thermostats is that if I ask any of my devices, the HomePod, whatever, what's the temperature in the living room, it can't tell me, even though it knows exactly what the temperature is showing on the Ecobee. With the sensors working in the HomePod Mini, I'll actually be able to say what's the temperature in whatever room, and have it give me close enough for indoors, because it'll tell you the temperatures between 68 and 69 degrees.
Yeah, that's great.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's actually the bit that I'm excited about. I'm meh on the rest of it, because I'm at the point now where I expect every update that comes out is going to disappoint me. And that way I'm not more disappointed because they dashed my hopes.
Yeah.
Yep. I will say that I don't know if it's the reason that it gives that range in my video. I have a stereo pair.
Right. So do I.
Yeah, and it gives it shows each sensor individually. So within the 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet of my entertainment center, apparently there's a 1 to 2 degree variation.
I think it's actually just Apple being weird, and I accept that you may be correct, but the reason I'm questioning is because if I go into the Home app and I look at the interior temperature info that shows up in the app, as opposed to looking directly at the Ecobee, it never shows the actual temperature. It shows that temperature range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could some of this be a calibration issue? Especially, Ben, it's hard to believe that there's a 2 degree difference if you have your 2 HomePods in the same room. So I'm wondering if there's a calibration difference, because I tell you what, I can get, you get those little small thermometers, the digital thermometers will sit on your desk and tell you how warm it is. They never match anything. They never match my thermostat. Yeah. Sometimes they don't even match each other. And I don't believe there's a temperature range on my desk. So I've got to believe that there's a calibration issue going on here, and that may be why you're getting ranges.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple reasons for that. Number one, I will admit this: I do not own a third-party temperature sensor. The other thing,
all right,
this was something that was installed in the HomePod 2 years ago, but was not turned on until, well, technically hasn't been publicly turned on, but you'll probably see that next week when iOS 16.3 officially releases. So I can't, you don't, especially if ones that have been out in the wild, and Apple didn't know if that feature would ever be turned on. So they probably didn't look too hard into calibrating it.
You know, now that you're saying this, Ben, I just realized that that I have the Echobee's built-in temperature sensor, and then like 4 feet away, I have an Eve indoor environment sensor, and I'm pretty sure they are showing different temperatures. So maybe it's that exactly what you said, where it's looking at these multiple sensors and it's like, I don't know which one's right. So here's the range between the two.
Yeah. And there's also the question of the accuracy of the thing. With that, you're probably going more ballpark than anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jeff.
And Ben, you've probably damaged your sensors just like I have by playing all that loud heavy metal music. That we've probably destroyed those sensors.
Yeah, not only that, but I used to have them in wall mounts on my wall instead of on my entertainment center.
Mm-hmm.
The both of them actually fell down.
Wow.
Ooh.
A little bit of extra vibration there.
Yes.
I like your style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple
There's
other
more gravity in Iowa than Colorado, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so.
Technically, yes, there is.
Yeah. Also, more air.
Most of it hot.
Yep.
Some of the things that is going to be added is the remastered of ambient sounds are more immersed and can be added to scenes, automations, and alarms in the Home app. The Find My on the HomePod now enables you to ask Siri for the location of friends and family if they have shared it with their reoccurring home automations. That can be set up just with your voice. And Siri confirmation tone will now play to indicate when a smart home requests are completed for accessories that may not be visibly showing a change or are located in a different room. Okay. And then it's got some other stuff like the audio tuning optimizes spoken content such as podcasts for even greater clarity on both the HomePod new 2nd gen and the HomePod 1st gen. And then updated volume controls on the HomePod 1st gen will give you more granular adjustments at lower volumes, which I think is pretty huge because there was no way of really getting good sound in between. When you tell it to hey SLA, do lower the volume to 2, and it just doesn't seem it's good. So we'll be interesting to see where that goes. So the software in itself, this is a good thing. And we'll as Ben's kitties get crawling around, and it's definitely going to be released sometime next week as we record this. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes here when it comes to the HomePod as far as the beta software goes. And a couple other things that stood out here was iOS 16.3 does expand upon the advanced data protection option for iCloud encryption globally. It's going to expand beyond the United States, starting with iOS 16.3, and the feature will be available globally to give users the options to enable end-to-end encryption for many additional iCloud data categories, including photos, notes, voice memos, message backups, device backups. So that's expected to be they had already released this, and we talked about this, and now it's going to go worldwide. So you guys already we're going to think you're going to get this enabled once we got it in the public?
I had it enabled, then I turned it off.
You did? Okay. Why was that?
I thought about it, and I actually want those NFC security keys before turning it on.
Yeah.
Back when, what's the name of the Mac disk encryption?
File Vault?
File Vault?
Yes, File Vault. Back in the beginning of File Vault,
Which was horrible
I
at
had
that
it. Yeah. I lost the contents of my entire hard drive and had to reset.
Oof.
Oof.
That hurts.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I can get back into my data and am not reliant on a printed piece of paper.
It's probably good.
I'm not enabling it until I have a really good reason to, because there are so many things that I have that need to have separate updates. And in some cases, it means removing devices completely from HomeKit, like all of my Hue bulbs, and then re-adding them. And the advantages that I will gain for the headaches that I will have to go through, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I'll wait until some point down the road when there's an actual need for me to make that move.
Yeah, and this is one of those technologies that I don't have an urgent need for, so I'm going to sit on the sidelines a little bit and let some other people take the slings and arrows and see what happens. And then if the need arises, or because when I look at what I have stored in iCloud, I mean, I'm not sure there are any deep dark. I wouldn't want necessarily anyone to have access to it, but then again, there are no deep dark secrets there, as far as I know, anyway. So I just feel like this is one of those. It's great that they're doing it, and great they're advancing the security part, but I'm not all that concerned.
Yeah, there's not anything in there that's not already on my Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Hey, but if you don't mind, rewind just for a quick second to the HomePod, because I wanted to ask if you all know, and maybe there are other people that are interested, the ambient sounds that are being, I guess, redone here. If I use one of those, is that playing from within the HomePod, or is it streaming?
I'm pretty sure it's streaming.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, Jeff, and that's why I asked, because I don't want to use white noise in my HomePod and be streaming all night. I mean, it's not a lot of bandwidth, but it's going to be some bandwidth.
Right.
And if you use that every night, it's going to add up. So that's why
it would be an easy thing for Apple to address by letting you say, "Hey, S lady, play forest sounds for 2 hours."
I mean, there are 32 gigabytes of storage in those.
Yeah, well, and Jeff, maybe I can do that, but I've just never. I mean, again, I've got a perfectly decent white noise app that I can launch, and it's fine. So, it would be nice to have it in the HomePod to be able to do the command, but that's why I ask.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Sorry to take us off.
No. Thanks. That was good extra info on the HomePod. Lastly, I want to talk on iOS 16.3. There was someone out on Twitter that's discovered the code that reveals Apple's continued work on a classical music app. They continue to work on a standalone classical music app, according to this hidden code changes that was discovered in the release candidate today, this week. The software update is in the final stage of beta testing, and of course, it's to be released next week. But it's unclear when the app will launch. And they're saying, for example, Apple changed a line of text that will appear in the iPhone standard music app from a shortcut to Apple Classical to an open-in Apple Music Classical. So kind of suggesting there is going to be a separate app. I think this audience, they acquired that service Primephonic in 2021. Geez, August of 2021, and it's taken this long for them to really get this going. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And I don't know if you guys hear much of big classical music listeners, but there's a lot of them out there that are.
Oh, I am.
All right, that's right, you do, Jeff.
Yeah. No, actually, I've been excited for this. And on one hand, holy crap, Apple, you have all the money in the world. Does it really take that long to take care of this? On the other hand, doing the whole classical music thing right is crazy fracking hard. Right. Because the whole thing with naming, and then when you add in orchestras and venues and conductors and or soloists or whatever, or same orchestras, same conductor, different years, and then throw in the whole Herschel system, and holy crap! It is insanely difficult to make this work. So I get it, but at the same time, if any company should be able to make it happen faster and still right, it's Apple.
Yeah, you would think that. So,
especially since they bought the company.
Yeah, exactly. I got a comment in the chat here at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Brett saying that the HomePod already has a sleep timer command. I didn't know that. Have you guys used that before?
I'm Googling right now.
Yeah,
I've not.
I
don't doubt it, Brett. I don't. I mean, it's sort of a natural thing. You would think that they would. It's just that.
Top hit of my Google search, Macworld article from 2019.
Well, there you go.
So, I haven't tried it, so I can't see the way I'm not going to try it right now. So, but,
okay. I'm reading this, and I had no idea. How did I not know about this? I've been doing the most ridiculous workarounds for my white noise stuff at night.
Huh.
I could have just read this Macworld article in 2019.
Yeah, we'll put the link to that article you found in the show notes if you don't mind, and people can check that out. So it's that does have a sleep timer. Interesting. So let's move on to the biggest and one of two big announcements that had happened this week. Surprise of all of us. I mean, at least I was pleasantly and kind of perplexedly surprised that all of a sudden Apple announced a new HomePod. We've been talking about this for months, saying and speculating, is Apple going to ever come out with a new full-size HomePod to replace it? And they did. So they announced a new HomePod. It's the second generation. It's going to be available to order. It's already available to order as we record this. It's going to ship on February 3rd in select countries. It's going to be basically the virtually identical design as the full-size HomePod that was discontinued back in March of 2021, which I own two of them, and I believe the Ben does as well, and a few others here. It's going to have a backlit touch surface and mesh fabric interior, which we're used to on the model. It now has a 4-inch high excursion woofer and 5 tweeters for 4 microphones. And now it has the S7 chip for computational audio and the U1 chip for the ultra wideband features like handing off music from an iPhone, supporting for spatial audio and Dolby Atmos. Speaker will be integrated with Siri and Matter support, HomeKit and other stuff. It's 6.6 inches tall, which I believe is a little shorter than the
it's a tiny bit shorter.
Previous model, as well as 5.1 pounds. I think that's about pretty close.
A
tiny bit lighter. But
a little bit lighter, yep.
Close.
So the original HomePod was equipped with the A8 chip from the iPhone 6, where the new model has the S7 chip, which is the chip that's from the Apple Watch Series 7, which I have.
The efficiency cores from the A13.
Yeah. So it's a new sensor can measure temperature, humidity in indoor environments. Like I said, so I think like we talked about before, the temperature sensor. I think only the HomePod Mini can do that, not the old gen HomePod. So
OG HomePod does not have those sensors.
Yeah. So, but the Mini does. So I might be breaking out my minis into different rooms so I can check some temperatures and sensors, right?
Yeah. With the new HomePod, I do have to wonder if they almost had an S5 one ready to go, but the chip just wasn't. The S5 just wasn't reliable enough to be, or just wasn't powerful enough to be reliable in that setup.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, the temperature and humidity sensors in it just seemed kind of random to just be put in there. They had to be working with another product. Yeah,
absolutely. Any thoughts, Chuck?
Not really. I mean, I think the stats are all great. In my opinion, the proof is in the listening. I was reading an article at dinner tonight saying, that, well, this is going to be, it has inferior hardware to the original HomePod. And it's like,
we
well,
don't know that.
We don't know that.
Yes. Well, they claimed it was inferior audio hardware, which, that's fine.
We
That's
don't
your
know
opinion.
that.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm just reporting, Jeff, but
I know. Yeah.
I want to listen to it. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be the question. How good does it sound? The one thing about the microphones, the HomePods, especially the full size that I had, were amazing. You could be cranking these things up at like, the top volume. A, they didn't distort, but B, in the midst of that sonic storm, you could say, "Hey, S lady, pause," and it would pause.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the detection and understanding was just flat out amazing. And so that is going to be something that I'm going to be very interested in seeing how this shakes out. And for the price point, you know what? I mean, might be a little bit of a premium over some of the really serious upper end speakers, but I don't think it's really out of the price range. What I can't decide is whether everything else has moved up or this is, people have just gotten used to that kind of money to get quality sound.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the Sonos Move that as a comparable speaker between the HomePod and, I kind of like that Sonos a little bit, but the HomePod still has some amazing sound. I have it in stereo pair up above me here, and it does have some really good sound. We've had them since they've come out and have always enjoyed them. I have them hooked up to the TV here on my Apple TV, and all the sound goes through them. And it streams. They stream really well with the Apple TV. You can give me a good quality sound. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes as far as how it's going to sound. That's the thing. You got that proof's in the pudding. You got to listen to it to see, is it something that you're going to like? Those who have the older model may still want to stick with it. I mean, it's still $300 you got to spend on if you decide you want to go with it. So you really got to decide that. Couple of caveats that's going to happen. It's you are not going to be able to pair it with the first generation HomePod, so you can't go out and buy. If you have one first gen, you can't go and pair it with the second gen. They just did not open that up to do that. So unfortunate, but it's kind of understandable. Hardware limitations and technology changes a number of years. It's definitely going to be interesting to see, what goes on with it. And, we're going to, hey, when it comes out, we'll definitely hear some more things about it, and see what happens. One thing of note, I forgot to mention this, and this is actually in the HomePod list here of stuff we're talking about, is, there is a bug right now with the advanced data protection. So there's another reason not to enable it, because the HomePods, that it created a problem with HomePods, and Mark Gurman actually found this and showed there was a support document that covers what to do if you can't set up or update your HomePod after advanced data protection is enabled. So check that out in the show notes. You have to go through some steps here. Got to restore the HomePod and all this fun stuff. So that'd be a reason there not to enable advanced data protection for your HomePod.
Dave, I have a couple thoughts that
Please.
I just want to share.
Yes.
All right. So first, the subwoofer.
Yep.
We don't know if the subwoofer is any different from what's in the original HomePod. All we know is that Apple is saying that it's 4-inch. They never said what the subwoofer in the original is. So that may be unchanged. We're going from 7 to 5 tweeters. We're going from 6 to 4 microphones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We have to hear it before we know if the audio quality is reduced. My guess is that it won't be. The other thing I'm seeing people. Oh, go ahead.
I would say when it comes to the microphones, the difference in quality between Apple's microphones back when the original HomePod was released and the ones that are in my MacBook, my M1 Pro, MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. These things have allowed me to get rid of an actual physical mic. Yeah. So yeah, they might be of so good quality, they only needed 4 for that effect.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I've seen some people complaining about the Wi-Fi in the new HomePod because it's N instead of AC. So they're looking at it as a step backwards. And on one hand, yes. On the other hand, my hypothesis is the long-standing bug in the HomePod where it would drop connections and would cause Siri to perform erratically, would cause music to stall or drop out. It's because it was on the AC Wi-Fi. And my guess is that in the end, Apple couldn't make that work reliably. So their fix instead was to do the workaround that everyone else is already doing, which is force the HomePod onto an 802.11n Wi-Fi connection. And the best way to do that is to not let it do anything else.
I mean, plus, exactly how much bandwidth do you need to stream music? It's not like you're downloading video files here onto your HomePod. N is perfectly fine for what it does.
It is. It's weird to see it in the specs because you look at it and it's like, well, that's a step backwards. The bandwidth that you need, N is more than capable. To me, I look at it as Apple punting and saying, we can't figure out how to fix this problem, so we'll just engineer the workaround into the hardware. Lame, but okay.
Jeff, I'm channeling my inner Jeff Gamet. I just did a quick Google search, and according to an article in Wikipedia, the woofer in the original HomePod was 4-inch, but Apple did not specify the frequency range.
Okay. So we still don't know if it's the same.
Yeah.
But it may very well be the same subwoofer.
Yeah. So, I mean, really the only other, like the biggest connectivity change is, I'm looking at an article here in Apple Insider. For some reason, they're saying that it got 802.11n for Wi-Fi for the HomePod 2023. That makes absolutely no sense. It's got to be at least AC. But with the ultra wideband and the Matter support, Bluetooth is the same. So really connectivity has been much of a huge change.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, I think the N is Apple just punting and trying to engineer around a technology or software issue that they couldn't figure out how to fix.
Right.
Which is kind of lame, but whatever. Mm-hmm.
So absolute surprise. I just was very surprised that they did it. I never thought that they would come back, but apparently it did. And that kind of leads me to another topic I wanted to, there's an article here in the show notes here about Apple wanting to expand upon the smart home lineup, and they really want to take on Amazon and Google. They're working on a slate of devices from what the rumors are here, saying that now they really see that there's some viable sales here in the smart home market, and they're even talking about potentially coming out with a tablet with attached to a wall with a touch screen and be able to do some of that stuff. We had been speculations of potentially an Apple TV with a screen on it at some point. So of course it's rumor, so you don't know what this is. It's all pure speculation. But this could really this release this week could really spark something that's possibly even more expanded on the smart home market. The Apple's seeing some potential here. Don't you think, guys?
Give me a home bar, give me a home sub, and allow me to. If you're not going to give me a home bar, allow me to use a third HomePod or HomePod Mini as a center channel, and the two in the back
as back channels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Full surround.
I've wanted these HomePods to replace my old Sonuses completely for years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we finally get there. I'm hoping we finally get the announced with AirPlay 2 Beats versions as well.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we can't have that. Unless Apple's market research says it won't sell. But then again, they just released a new HomePod based on a product that didn't sell very well. So what do I know?
Well, Jeff, you took the words right out of my mouth. And this is where it gets dangerous for any of us to discuss what we want,
right?
Because we're geeks. But on the other hand, with every post pandemic, with people seeming to be using or enjoying their homes more, this would seem like an opportunity. If you paired an Apple TV with 2 front HomePods, a center HomePod, and 2 minis for the back, for a I don't know what you could do with a sub, and maybe you don't need a sub depending on how good the woofers are in the new HomePods.
Yeah.
Or maybe that could be an add-on later. But bottom line is, this they've got. It would seem that they have the technology in place to do it, and so I would be right there with it, no question about it.
Yeah.
And just one other thing, circling back around to the 802.11n, that's all the connectivity that Sonos has in any of its products.
So is it correct that the new one's going to have N, or am I wrong?
No, it's going to have N.
Yeah.
Also, Apple Insider is right. I just didn't really. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they never. That's all the S7 chip is capable of, and I mean if that's all the leader in connected audio has, it's got to be good enough.
Okay. It's also what most of your other smart home devices are using anyhow.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, we'll see what happens when it comes out in a couple weeks, and I'm sure you'll definitely be hearing more about that as we hear others that get it in our hands. I don't plan on purchasing one. I think my 2 HomePods above me are just fine. Thank you. And I'm sure you guys probably think the same.
There's no reason for you to replace those. I'm totally talking over you. I'm so sorry.
No.
Yeah. If you already have the OG HomePods and they're working great, don't get the new ones.
There's no reason.
You know what? But I have to point out, Brett in the chat room, and I've been going back and forth about that one of the features that is attracting him is the sound recognition, because he wants to be able to have it hear the sound of a baby crying.
Okay, that's a totally valid thing. Yeah,
yeah, and I would completely overlook that feature, but that may be applicable to some people for different use cases that we're not aware of or haven't thought of.
Yeah, I mean the Matter support too. The Matter support does.
Yeah, the Matter support too.
Yeah, but if you're happy with your original HomePods as HomePods,
or you can just move them into different parts of the house and expand your musical enjoyment.
Or if you're thinking, geez, if only I had an inexpensive way to add Matter to this setup, just go buy a HomePod Mini and call it good. You can even stick it in the closet. It doesn't matter. You don't even have to
create a HomePod Mini pair.
Yeah, there you go.
Which, ironically, Jeff, that was actually my original plan for the HomePod Mini. Until Sonos was like, yeah, we're not going to do stereo support.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. But I mean, talk about the cheapest way to get a HomeKit bridge into your setup and have Matter support. It's a HomePod Mini, because it's cheaper than buying an Apple TV.
That's true. All right. The time we have left, I wanted to start a new segment this week, and the new segment is In Touch with Mac. And I thought it would be fun to talk about the new Macs that were released this way. I found it was interesting the way Apple did it, and we didn't have an event. They did do a video. We were able to watch the quote-unquote event video, and they did unveil new MacBook Pros, and especially I was kind of excited was the unveiling of new Mac Minis. You don't see that happen too overly often with their product lines. Let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. So first off, Apple did unveil the the MacBook Pro with the M2 Pro and the M2 Max chips. So it's pretty exciting with some of the things they did. They enhanced the battery life with 22 hours on a MacBook Pro, which is pretty insane. Wi-Fi 6E, not a huge deal. I don't think it's much of a big deal. You can now max out memory RAM to 96 gigabytes. Wow, that's a lot of memory and very expensive on top of that too. But other than that, a lot of it's just much the same. They look exactly the same. You got the M2 Pro or the M2 Max, and then lots of cores that you can set up with these MacBook Pros. Pricing starts like around $19.99 and goes all the way up. I mean, I priced out for somebody who was looking was an M2 Max 16-inch, and it's $6,200 with 96 gigs of RAM and 4 terabytes of solid state. So, Chuck, what's your thoughts as far as, I know we were talking about this, and what do you think of these new Macs? Is it something that you're tempted? Are you, because you got a very similar machine I have with the M1 Pro that I'm very happy with.
Well, of course I'm tempted. I mean, because why wouldn't you be? The question becomes one of price versus performance versus need.
Right.
And that's for the first time I'm having a little bit of trouble saying, gee, I want to upgrade to the top model, but I'm not sure that the performance will justify the cost. That said, and I will add this to the show notes. There's an article just that I was reading at dinner from iMore that allegedly the M2 Pro chip, quote unquote, destroys Apple's old M1 Max. Benchmarks reveal massive performance leap.
Well, it's 20%, but if you look at what they've done, it completely makes sense because it's like 20% more cores.
Right. So
yeah.
But these are early benchmarks. I mean, I plan on just sticking around for a while because my current machine is perfectly fine, and seeing what the benchmarks end up being. Because my work situation has changed and I no longer have to be quite as mobile as I've needed to be in the past. I may be looking at one of the minis, one of the top end minis that may outperform or come close to matching the performance of this MacBook Pro.
Oh, I agree with you. Ben, did you have anything to add on that?
Number one, is it 2008 again? Are we at Macworld? The other one, I mean, if you're still a holdout from the 2019 Intel MacBook Pro, or want something a little bit more than your existing M1 MacBook Air, or I mean, this will be a very good upgrade for you. If you're like me, sitting here with a base model M1 Pro MacBook Pro, God, Apple changed that name. But I mean, I'm sitting here with a super fast, quiet machine with amazing battery life. I mean, I've had it over a year and I'm still in love with this machine as much as the day I bought it.
Me too.
Yeah, it's, I mean, going from an M1 Pro or an M1 Max to their M2 equivalent, unless you have like unlimited money, there's no reason to do this.
Yeah, no, I agree. But let's talk about the Mac Mini. I have a couple M1 machines, and they're pretty awesome. I mean, I got the base model, 8 gig of RAM and the 256 gig of solid state, and boy, they're what a great machine to have as a backup. And I have it as a backup, and in case God forbid anything happens to my MacBook Pro, which is my primary machine, I got that one, and then I run beta on the second Mac M1 I have. So it's a great machine. But to start at $599, they lowered the price on the Mac Mini for the base model, which is, I mean, this, if they don't sell a ton of these, I don't know it'd be just mind boggling. The M2 processor, you got the 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which
is upgraded from USB 4 on the previous model.
Exactly. I mean, you just can't beat it with the base model. And then they have the midline model with where that just bumps it up to the 512 of solid state. And then the top end model, the M2 Pro, which is kind of a midline from the Mac Studio, that you can spend only $11.99, but you get 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on that, which that's pretty awesome to have that many ports and for that pricing. Like I said, Chuck, I think it's tempting. It's tempting to have one of these devices as kind of your daily drivers, especially if you're working from home most of the time that you have it, and just have it just get a screen for it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be an interesting balancing act for anybody that's even thinking about this, is trying to evaluate the higher end M1s in the Mac Studio versus the M2 versions in the Mac Pro, or the lower end Mac M2 versions in the MacBook Pros. So you're really going to have to sit down and think a lot about what it is you're doing, and how much power do you need? How many ports do you need? And, how easily can you add a set of ports by adding a third-party dock of some kind? It's in some ways, it's a great time to be a Mac user, because now we've just got an embarrassment of riches here.
Yeah.
There's no dog in this product lineup.
No, there really isn't. Just spreading the wealth around. I mean, so that leaves the Mac Pro as the lone Intel-based Mac at this point, which who knows where that one's going. And then of course, iMacs are a whole another discussion, because what are they going to do with that line? But the Mac Minis are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have to wonder with the Mac Pro and the higher end iMacs, if Apple hit a wall with how far an SoC can scale.
That's possible. No, that's very possible.
I think that's highly likely.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time Apple engineered themselves into a corner.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. You got a lot of people out there who do love their iMacs, and but is it a viable product? People want to have the. Go ahead.
There's one other conundrum that you didn't bring up, which is if you need a mobile Mac, how do you choose now for a lot of people between a MacBook Pro M2 and a MacBook Air M2?
Yeah, that's true. Because do you need all that power on a MacBook Pro on M2? Does that MacBook Air, I've got one, is for work, and oh my God, the thing is a workhorse. It's super fast for a lot less money.
Yeah, and as Ben pointed out, the people that are rocking the 2019 Intel, that's me. I priced out both the just a middle of the line M2 Pro and M2 Air, and the price difference is staggering.
It is.
And what it really comes down to for me is, on the go, do I really need a 16-inch screen, or can I get by with a 14-inch screen?
Yep.
It's suddenly really hard to justify spending like $2,800 on a MacBook Pro when I can spend $1,800 on a MacBook Air.
I mean, I will tell you this, Jeff. I have the 14-inch. My previous MacBook was a 16. I don't miss the extra real estate. But the one question for me between the 14-inch MacBook Pro and the 13.6 MacBook Air is the screen. The Air is going to be more than powerful enough for 95% of people. But I have a very good quality, high definition, regular LCD screen with an LED backlight right next to my MacBook. The mini LED screens in these are truly 95% OLED quality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They give you very deep blacks that make this very good screen next to me look like a cheap TN screen.
See, that's a problem because now we end up spending more money on displays because we need more beautiful. But yeah.
But I have to say, for unless you're doing very high graphics and computational stuff, the MacBook Air will do 95% of what the 14-inch MacBook Pro will do. It's a phenomenal machine.
Yeah. So you can see my conundrum.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a little time. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, yeah, I can't help but do this. If this had been a month ago and we were talking about the M1s, I mean, I would have had, and I still honestly have very little hesitation in recommending to anyone an M1 iMac or one of the M1 laptops, because for most people, that is going to be more than sufficient.
Oh yeah, those are screaming machines.
Yeah. And so, we're all talking about, let's hold out for, an M2 based iMac. And it's like, okay, why? What is it that you're doing that you need that much power? I mean, I think it was Bob Loitis, famously stated, you're the biggest you're the biggest barrier to productivity is speed. The machines already outpaced us.
Yep.
And so, we do have this lust. And I mean, speaking for myself, I do some video. And so, the rendering speed is important for me. But, and Jeff, I think you probably can run into some of that with some of the graphic stuff you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But, how much is it worth to you to not wait an extra minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes? 15 minutes.
And that adds up. And that's a very valid question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, with the Apple Silicon machines, you can have the base M1 do quite a few tasks on par or maybe even faster than a $10,000 Mac Pro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're not going to be at a loss for speed.
No, you're not. It's I love that we have this problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, at worst, do what some of us used to do. If you have something that's going to render out, let it render overnight and save yourself some money. Now, if you're doing that every night, then that's another matter. But if you do it once a week or once every couple of weeks or less, then, it's just not that big a deal.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is why I still haven't upgraded from my 2019 MacBook Pro, because it is not slowing me down.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's one reason to upgrade, Jeff. You will never hear the fans ever.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
ever.
I have thought about this a lot. I mean, it's when I say my computer is not slowing me down, my computer runs hard all day long.
No,
like
I never hear a fan. I mean, I got a 2018 behind me here. I've been doing some stuff on, and it's like, oh, that's a fan. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, there'll be times at the end of the day when I stop working, so my computer's just basically sitting here,
And the fan's going.
and the fans will still run for half an hour.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep the thing from melting down while it cools down.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Yeah, I say it's not holding me back, but I push this machine as far as it can go every single day.
Yeah, I think you're due.
You're enabling me.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and wrap things up here. That was the new segment, In Touch with Mac. So we'll do more of that as we go here on the show. I thought that'd be fun to mix it up a little bit and to do something different. And always have a good lively conversation when it comes to Mac as well as iOS. And everything else that we love to talk about when it relates to Apple. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at InTouchWithIOS. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You also can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch this previous live streams as well as past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into the magazine. The link is in the show notes. You can also subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, which includes Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon, at the mastodon.cloud at DaveG65, as well as on Twitter at DaveG65. And Ben, thanks so much for being here this week. It was great to have you back on the show. Where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at my interim website, roethigtech.blogspot.com. You can also find me on the social medias at Ben Roethig at your social media of choice.
Great. Thanks for being here. And Chuck Joyner, thank you as always for being here. We really appreciate it. And where can people find you?
MacVoices.com is where you'll find me talking to, right now, lots of people from CES in Las Vegas. We're working our way through all the interviews we shot. And also on the social medias, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner or at MacVoices. I'm going to steal Ben's line, on your social media of choice. I like that. I'm going to use that. And of course, yeah, there you go. And then we do Mac Voices Live Tuesday nights right here, depending on if you're actually here with us on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We do that at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us. I got to drag Ben in there one of these days because he's the only one that hasn't been there. So, so come and join us. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we sure do.
Absolutely.
And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, as always, thank you so much for being here. Where people find you?
It's always a treat, so thank you. Okay, people can find me on the various socials. J Gamet. I am more active on Mastodon now than Twitter, and when I say more active, what I mean is when the API for Twitter was killed, I haven't been back because I can't use my app of choice. So yeah, J Gamet on whatever. And most Tuesdays with Chuck on Mac Voices Live, then Thursdays on The Big Show, and then most Thursday evenings here with Dave, and then Fridays on The Mac Show, and then also on The Context Machine with Brian Chaffin.
Great. Thanks. And thank you for listening. We hope you'd enjoyed the show and enjoyed the new segment, and we'll continue on with some great content. But for now, thanks for listening.